Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Bot Keepers on the Edge. My name is Lauren Baptiste. I'm here with Seth Fineberg of Accountants Forward. I
Hi.
am so excited to be here with you today. We are going to have what we're calling a live virtual coffee. Welcome, everybody.
Yes.
So I think what's always really fun, I mean, of course, our topic today, let's talk about that. Our topic is a conversation about emotional, physical, and mental health, but I think it's really good for each of us to share a little bit about who we are. So Seth, take a moment, let us know who you are, I'll share who I am, and then we can get into the best part of the conversation.
Sure. I have an interesting connection. For those who don't know me, I'm Seth Fineberg. I do head up Accountants Forward. That is my consulting practice that I kind of started after spending several decades really covering business to business as a reporter, as an editor, an editorial leader. I came into accounting across along that path 20 odd years ago. I worked with Accounting Today. I headed up the editorial for the US Office of Accounting Web. And these days I am working with a lot of the vendor community and organizations who are trying to have a better connection to accountants, because let's face it, we're at a point now where it's hard to consider any tasks internally or externally that you do as an accounting professional without a technological component to it. And behind all that, which we're going to discuss today, is the relationships, actual human relationships with people at a company, to because it is a union that needs nurturing, it needs attention, and I help to kind of make those connections through content.
Amazing. I think of you a little bit as like the megaphone of the profession. Like things are happening and you're like, let me make sure everybody knows and let me help like make it.
Yeah, I try. I do my best. I'm just one me, but I do what I can to
Yeah.
utilize social platforms, utilize my own newsletter, and my partnership with CPA Trendlines, and just the trust that I feel like I built throughout the profession to really, just say, what's going on and go team, and because I really do see the accounting profession as so essential to, you know, um, just growth in our economy,
Mm,
in our personal lives. You know, money kind of makes people's futures a little brighter if you have the proper management of it. You want someone in your corner who has your financial health in mind. There's more companies that are, more people that are starting businesses, that have started businesses, even going back to the pandemic, um, and ensuring that these businesses stay, not only stay alive, but help thrive. And you need a connection to that human being behind it. So
mm.
I could think of no better job and task to have than being an advocate for the profession, and really seeing these relationships get better. And I
I
think trust starts on with content. Good content, like, I think, starts that conversation happening.
I love that. I think as you're sharing that, Seth, it's like, you're helping, and I think we both have the same kind of like end result, end user. It's like helping the professionals in accounting, bookkeeping, and really be the most successful version of themselves. So I'll take a second just to share a little bit of my work so you can kind of see how
Yeah,
we are
I love what you
complementing.
do equally. Just really saying, look, it's about the human behind the
Yes.
the suit, the sweater, the everything that you do, the LLC, uh, the office front. There's this person and people behind that, and you're all
Yeah.
about that. So I love that.
Yeah. And so for a little bit about me, my firm's Akaloa Wellness. I help professionals experience balance in their lives, right? I help them get the promotions, the salaries, the next step in their professional career without without having to sacrifice themselves. And I know that because for my story, I ended up in an emergency room from burnout. And that was my turning point of, okay, if this is happening to me, this is likely happening to other people. And I noticed it was. And that's where I love it. Like my mission, while I love the profession and I've been in it for a long time now, I'm there for the person. I'm there for the business owner. I'm there for the person sitting at the desk. I'm there for the person serving the client. I'm there for the person who's just trying to figure all of this out, whether in this small team or in a large conglomerate. And I think these tools that we're sharing and that we're doing and how we're then you're megaphoning it out, right? How we're making sure it's amplifying it is what's changing the profession for, I think, for the better.
Totally. I couldn't agree more, Lauren.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think that there needs to be, just more of that beating the drum for the human being, behind all of this. Because I know that there's probably times where, and I think, you would know better, than I, but, pointing out and recognizing these little stressors, these little things that really are going to lead you down that path of, not, being so well. And you can't look after your clients and your family and your life, your business, if you are off. We all have our days. It's not about having days. It's about when they add up to a point at where you're just not thinking about your life. And that's why I loved hearing you say at, when you had your presentation at AI Unchained, you referred to it as life-work balance, because it may sound kitschy and corny, whatever. Life comes first. And if I think, the last few years of having to deal with life first, as well as, your clients and your everything else going on, your business, because, make no mistake, I mean, accounting professionals, like you're helping run a business, and that business feeds your life, feeds your livelihood, and you need that balance. It has to happen. And so I love that you referred to it as life work balance, because let it be, let that be the norm when we're talking about balance, true balance of,
Right.
knowing when certain things have to come first.
As you share that. So I did the speaking event at AI Unchained, which was so fun, but I also had the opportunity to hold a roundtable. And one of the things that we were talking about was a similar topic that we're having right now. And they were saying, well, life work balance is like me answering emails on the couch. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, no, that's not.
I mean, if it makes you happy, great, but not quite.
Not quite. And that's where it gets tricky, right? Because we think that work-life balance, life-work balance, whatever, it's like this, it's either this really rigid thing where, okay, well then after 5, I log off and then I have the rest of my night to myself, and then I, maybe after I put my kids to bed, I log in for another hour. It can have rigidity, it can have structure.
Sure. But
But
maybe it needs to start that way, right? Like you just give yourself a time where this is when, like every day, I go, this is the time where I am walking. I'm out of the house. I'm not, as you can see, I work from home, and I need to be out somewhere. Rain, shine, hot, cold. You have to start that way. And then maybe over time, there's a little flexibility to it, or, what have you. But would you agree that maybe it starts with some rigidity, but it doesn't have to stay that way?
Absolutely, right. There's structure. We need structure. Without structure, we're like kind of it's chaos. But there's a way to go about it where there needs to be a flexibility with that structure. So the way I like to think about it is like, know what you want. Let's say, Seth maybe goes on walks in the morning and that's his thing. And every morning he's going to do that. Well, there may be the one-off where he has to take a call, but flexibility doesn't mean, okay, now I'm not going to go on this walk, or this is a busy time and now I'm not going to do walks anymore. Do I change the time of day? Do I change the duration of how long I walk?
Life happens. Sometimes you have to have that flexibility. You can't be like, no, this is my walk time. It's like, yeah, okay, well, gotta take my kid to the doctor. So yeah, yeah,
Right.
life happens.
It's on both sides. It's like, okay, you still need to care for yourself and you need to be flexible with your work. I think there's this fatal thought that a lot of professionals have, that just one more email, just one more meeting, just let me get through this and then I'll log off for the day. But we need the flexibility there to say, okay, enough. So I think of flexibility as this pendulum, kind of like those big old clocks. It's like the pendulum that swings back and forth, and there will be time it's more work and there will be times it's more life, but the pendulum is always moving, and it's our job to make sure it doesn't get stuck in any specific spot, but that we can find that harmony as it moves throughout our life. What do you think when you think of work-life balance? Is there a visual that comes to your mind or something that like pops into your head?
Yeah, when I feel that I've been more committed to that idea of life work balance because as I mentioned, life does have to come first, but yeah, it is it's like any routine. Like people who are like, okay, yeah, I know, I regularly see the doctor. I'm at a certain age where it's like, okay, you can't take your health. You shouldn't ever take your health for granted, mental or physical. But life moves on and moves forward, and certain things start to need more attention as time goes on. And I
Mm,
realize that, and you just can't make it like something that you put off because it could actually be too late. Like maybe you found out when you were realizing, like, maybe we should get into the topic of burnout. Our good friend Randy Crabtree, and we know some others too, who have personally, suffered from, burnout, and it impacted them mentally and physically to
mm,
where it affected their health. And that's just when, people just are, all right, stop, because things have to change. When you realize something's broken in your own health, something's probably broken in your life too, possibly, or it just shifts your attention
absolutely.
to,
You know what I find? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it just shifts your attention to, okay, um, yeah, I thought I had work-life balance. I'm putting work first too often. Life
Mm-hmm.
has to come first. Your health, who you are, how you are, has to come first. And recognizing the signs of burnout, could we talk about that?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll add, just as what you shared, is there's a point where I find in the profession, it's not even the health that's slowing us down anymore, because it's like, okay, I have this thing, I'll take a pill, a goop, a cream, and I'll just like kind of keep trucking. But what happens is when I start to see the ricochet effect in the career, that's when people raise their hand. Now, I don't love that. I would love, like you said, it's like when something's happening in the body, it likely means something's happening. Like we have so many symptoms of stress that tell us that stress is happening in the body, but we suppress it. Like a twitching eye, lower back pain, like all these little creepy things that creep up. So I think it's important to be aware of that, but also, okay, if you are at the point where your career is ricocheting and you're noticing that everything's just like your emotional health, your physical health, your mental health is all in disarray, that's why you need to start prioritizing it. So I love that you say that. Okay, so you said you want to talk about burnout. Do you want me
I,
to
I
start? Or you
think
want me
I think we should, just as a like just a basic, like, okay,
to-
like let's get practical. How
Yeah.
do you know that, it was like you said, our natural tendency sometimes is to push through,
Mhm.
mask it through, whether other means, or not pay attention to when the warning signs are there. And it's like, if, those of us who have owned cars at some point, when that light starts flashing at you, it's too late. The check engine light should not go on, because that's like, there's a major problem.
Right. Don't
You
put a
gotta
piece of
get to it
tape
right
over it.
away. But typically, that's when it's like, so don't wait for the warning light to come on. But
Mm.
maybe there's other signs where things could be kind of breaking down. And that's what I want to get to with you.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is there's a study that said 75 to 90% of all visits to the doctor are for stress related health concerns. So I think, as you said, it's like, hey, is our body telling us something? I think what happens is as we age, we blame that, all the burnout and stress, on our age. Or, even women that are going through menopause will be like, okay, well, it must just be menopause, or it must just be because I'm getting older, versus saying, is my stress making me sick? Have you ever had a day where you started to feel it and you were so stressed you pushed through and you ended up getting yourself sick? I've also
Yeah.
had the opposite day where I've like felt I was getting sick. I was like, I said I need to go to bed, and I woke up the next morning fine. So we can see how stress is like like it's gas to the fire.
Yeah. So flag number one, should you wait until there's physical signs, or is there other signs like where you're like you might be experiencing burnout?
Yeah. Well, according to the
What else
World
should our viewers look for?
Yeah, according to the World Health Organization in 2019, they said burnout is an occupational phenomenon. So what that means is work is now at the point, I find it bittersweet. We're talking about it, but it's also bad enough that we're like having to talk about it, right? So they quantify it in three things. Exhaustion, physical, mental, right? We're even talking about physical, mental, emotional exhaustion. It's not just your sleep, it's your energy, it's your mood, it's how you're showing up. The second is cynicism and detachment. Do you find yourself a little more sarcastic, a little more withdrawn, a little more negative about your job and how things are going? And then the third is an ineffectiveness at work. And this is where sometimes this is like the one that people notice because they just figure, I'm tired, I have kids, or I'm tired, life's lifing, or I'm just sarcastic. That's how everybody is in the profession. But ineffectiveness at work, something that maybe used to take you a day now takes you a week. You're not getting things done as quickly. You're not as sharp as you used to be. That's why if you think about it as these three things, exhaustion, cynicism, and ineffective, what comes up for you, as you're thinking about this or listening to this?
Yeah. And I think that was probably a good time to bring up the fact. So we've talked about this. Some of you might not know, but I had engaged with Randy Crabtree and this Trimeric group. We had discussed this very topic of burnout and burnout in the profession, and is this why more accountants are leaving? It's been very widely publicized that there are less accountants to do the job than there were. Now, this is not a new issue, but to the degree that it is happening, and also the fact that there aren't as many who want to come in. You used to be able to kind of go, oh yeah, there's definitely attrition in the profession, but when you don't have the folks coming in at the pace that they were, something's wrong.
Yep.
So we decided to do kind of engage in what ultimately I think is going to be a multi-part survey around the idea of, is burnout a thing? Is burnout what is causing folks to, like you said, just disconnect from their jobs, not perform as well, and ultimately just leave either the firm that they're at or the profession altogether. So the first phase was really just looking at, hey, how do you work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's piece this apart. We can be a little scientific about it. We can start looking at, a survey saying, okay, let's see who, is, satisfied at their job and why. So we found through our survey work that, and also we had a lot of help from HB Publishing and Marketing Company founder Hank Berkowitz. He's done a bunch of this before. So we called it our Accountants Annual Profession Satisfaction Survey, which again I think is kind of part one of, I think, maybe three different lenses that we can look at
Mm.
to determine burnout. So we asked about satisfaction, and we only found about 25% and 17% respectively said that they felt highly satisfied at work.
Wow.
That's of everyone we surveyed, and there was several hundred folks who responded, firms of all sizes. Um, Conversely, we thought it was interesting that the folks, while a lot of them said that they were working 60 hours a week, or more. I think that was around 2/3 said that they were. Um, the majority were in fact satisfied with what they were doing because of the type of work.
Hmm.
So that's another thing too that accountants might want to consider when feeling, because the overall, like if you're not feeling satisfied, it can lead you, would you agree, down that path towards burnout?
Yeah, I mean, the
That's
thing
our
that
fear.
you're saying, it's like, is it the type, like for satisfaction, is it the type of work or the way that we're working? And I actually believe it's the way that we're working that is
Yeah.
creating the dissatisfaction. A lot of us came into the profession being like content with accounting, liking numbers, liking people, doing the thing. It's the way that it's done now that it just feels like I can't catch a break, I can't catch up. That I think is actually contributing to those lower numbers in satisfaction.
Yeah. Another factor in the survey, if I may,
Yeah, I would love it.
which
Tell
we
me.
which we wanted to call out, which is we had a whole section of questions around health and well-being.
Hmm.
And we found that many respondents were not comfortable even asking for help in the
Right.
following areas: long-term illness or disability assistance, only 32%; stress management, only 21%; mental health, only 19%; and then just overall burnout prevention, 14%. Meaning they worked in a firm and they didn't feel comfortable talking about things. So while we did find on the positive side, there are more firms and more businesses in general that are finding that flexibility, not having to come into an office all the time was, or they can pick and choose days when they can come in. That seems to be more of the norm these days. Obviously, the press likes to focus on the, oh, this business and that business. They're calling everyone back in.
Yeah,
By and large, that's just not the case. It's not the case in the accounting profession too, for the
for
most
sure.
part. You know, there is definitely something to be said for, well, we want to have culture, we want to have connections. Humans have to connect with other humans. I get that. But it's more than that. They have to feel supported where
Mm.
they are.
Hmm.
And it seems that, in these several areas, um, they do not. And there's just
Mm.
that lack of connection and the lack of feeling like, hey, maybe I could actually ask for a day off when I feel that I need it. And
Yeah.
that's key, like just that mental state of just going, or if you're running a firm and just going, conversely, like I want to feel like, yeah, I'm the firm leader. I'm going to tell my staff, like, I, I'm just, I'm OOO today. Just completely off computer, at office. I need a day or two.
Hmm.
You
What I
have to
find
feel
really,
like you can do that.
yeah, I mean, what I find really interesting in your survey, I actually expected when it comes to an illness that the number would have been higher. So I wasn't
So,
surprised by the stress management, mental health, and burnout numbers, but I was like, wow, if it's a cancer diet, I mean, I don't know what they see as illness of like, I have the
yeah,
flu
I think it's
or
just generally like I just
the
don't
cold.
feel well,
I
and they
see.
don't feel comfortable enough just going. I need a day. Obviously, if you're like really sick, you're sick. Most people, again, not everybody, but most people will just be like, you know what, I, I got a fever today.
Yeah.
I'm just really, some people suffer from migraines. Migraines can happen through diet, through a lot of other things.
Sure.
I know that my older son suffers from them. My wife suffers from them. It's a chemical sort of thing. It's not just, oh, you have migraine, you must be stressed. No, that's
No,
not,
right.
and you have to be, when people chronically suffer from them, you have to be sensitive to when they start because they run in like a pattern.
Right.
And there's early signs where you can go, okay, I can pop a pill. I can take something to help ease that out, because some people, like when it gets like to a point, it's too late. Dark room, waste bucket by your side, cold cloth, like they just want. It's bad.
Yeah,
It
I know.
debilitates you, and it's something that's so easily like dealt with. And you know,
Right.
you want to feel like, and that's just one example of you just
It's one,
feeling like,
right.
I can't push through this. And I feel, and you shouldn't feel guilty for just going, I'm just not feeling it today. I need a day
Absolutely.
off.
Absolutely. And that's where I think, and even though that number is low, it just tells me that there's a sentiment in the profession of just like the push through no matter what. I'm sure both of us, everyone who's listening to this can raise their hand of like the time that guy came or gal came to the office sick, got you sick, and then like took out your team, or like what a lose-lose, as opposed to like stay home, take a day off, work from home. And so we need to talk about this because we are perpetuating that cycle if we don't talk about it, right? What we're doing here is hopefully illuminating someone to say, if you're sick or you're not feeling good, either work remotely or turn off your computer altogether. Ideally, go rest and get better and come back fresh.
And just feel like you have to just kind of tell yourself, even, whatever, if it sounds silly, fine, but look in the mirror and just go, can I do this today or
Mm-hmm.
not? Either way, it's okay. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. If you're
Yeah.
a firm leader and you've got to go to your admin, your staff, and just you send out that text, you send out that email, just not in today. If there's a real emergency, contact so and so, so and so. Leave yourself out of the picture, because it's all of those instances where you push through that. If you're truly feeling like, yeah, I just need the day, and you kind of do whatever it is to to put yourself in a situation to where maybe you're not well, that, I think, it's going to lead you down that path to burnout, and it's harder to come back from, versus just recognizing in the moment when, you know what, it's okay. I'm not here today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that could go to, office policies too, where if you have, I think that's a culture thing too. If you feel like you are, the culture controller, meaning you're the head of your firm, whether it's 3 people or 30 or more, you're setting the tone. You're the one that people will follow. So if you're the one, and the higher ups, in your firm are the ones that say what goes, and your staff are going to be looking to you, they're gonna follow that. And who knows, maybe it will have the effect of, yeah, maybe they will stick around longer because they feel like they're taken care of. They're feeling like they're in a place where it's okay to just not be okay all the time,
Mm-hmm.
even in the middle of busy season. Who cares? This is
I
you we're
love
talking
this. So as we're coming to the end of today, I wanted to summarize even a few of the things that you just said that I think is really valuable for someone to be like, all right, what do I take away from this? And the first, what we talked about, is like, be aware. Be aware that you're burned out. Take note. Second, set the tone. If you're the leader, which I know a lot of you listening to this are, then be the one who can take a vacation day and not check your email, or ask somebody, can you cover this in my absence, right? Be the example of what you hope to see. And then the third thing is just be an advocate. Continue to tell others, continue to be aware of your mental health, notice it in others, tell them to go home. Be the message to say it's okay to give yourself permission to have a day off, right? And when we perpetuate that cycle of being aware, setting the tone for ourselves, and then advocating for others, it creates a movement really of where we go from here as professionals.
Totally. And I would say, Lauren, that a lot of firms, I think, might feel like, or firm leaders, people working in their profession, might feel like they're just kind of in a silo. They're alone. They just have their clients and their work and the people around them and their staff, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is such a larger community out there who I've seen and you've seen really will support you. They might be strangers to you right now, but they're there.
Absolutely.
And figure out ways to have better connections to the profession, because when I've seen it even on just simple social media channels where folks are just feel like maybe they're shouting into the ether, but there's another voice there. There's another person there that is, going to DM you or maybe get your information and be like, I'm there. I've got people on my phone right now that if something were up to me, I can look, and even outside of my own family, several people that I know that in a pinch, I could just go, I'm just really
Amazing.
today. I got to talk. Even
So
if you have
good.
one person, stay connected to each other. That's my sort of final word of
I
advice.
love it.
But
All right,
Lauren,
we're coming to the end. Seth, how can we stay connected to you and your info?
oh, me, I try to keep it simple. It's if you want to email me, that's fine. It's Seth@SethFineberg.com. You can find my website, Accountants Forward, or SethFineberg.com. I own both domains. People reach out to me a lot on LinkedIn. That's totally cool. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just send me an email, whatever you want to connect. That's fine. We'll have a conversation. I do this pretty regularly. I'm only as good as the information that I have. And Lauren, I'm so glad that we connected
Amazing.
as well.
Amazing.
What about you? How can people get?
Yeah, you can connect with me, AcheloaWellness.com. That's ACHELOA wellness.com. I'm on all the social media platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn at Lauren Baptiste, Instagram, the Lauren Baptiste, and email Lauren@AcheloaWellness.com. So yeah, I think for here, it's like if you are coming at this from an individual, reach out to either of us. If you're thinking about this as the organization, reach out to either of us. We are here to support you and not
100%.
loneliness. So if you're feeling lonely and you're like, who's that first person to reach out to? It's your new best friends, Lauren and Seth. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, BotKeeper team, another amazing On the Edge episode. Thank you.